morning, everyone. Great. Well, thank you. First, I just want to acknowledge that we're, of course, gathered today in the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 7. I also want to acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta, who, of course, have a deep connection to the land. I want to thank Mayor Jack Van Ryan. Thank you, sir, for being here. And, of course, the MLA for the region, Grant Hunter. Always a pleasure, my friend, having you here with us today in your neck of the woods. I also want to acknowledge the folks that are with us as well. Here we have Deputy Mayor Jordan Saylor, Councillor Lisa Rice, Councillor Bill Chapman, Councillor Jack Beekman, and Councillor Dale Pickering. And I also want to thank our good friends and from the RCMP who are here as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here as well. So today, we are here in the town of Coaldale because Alberta's government truly means when it says that we'll do whatever it takes to keep Albertans and their communities safe. This commitment includes empowering and supporting municipalities to make the best decisions to meet their public safety and policing needs. It doesn't matter if you are in downtown Calgary or in rural Alberta, regardless of where you live. Albertans deserve to feel safe in their daily lives. And it's the top priority for this provincial government to ensure the safety and peace of mind of all residents. When and where this is jeopardized, our government has a duty to act. No one should be left wondering whether or not they can rely on a prompt law enforcement response in their moment of need. When it comes to municipal policing, Coaldale's past embodies the freedom of choice and the pursuit of innovation that we want for all communities to benefit from. Flexibility is what our towns and rural municipalities need when considering and implementing local policing solutions tailored to their unique needs. It's not something that they should be punished for. Coaldale originally had the RCMP policing contract and chose to move away in with another contract service provider in another agreement. And since then, they have revived the policing agreement with the federal government in 2016. However, Coaldale is the only municipality in Canada, and let me say this again, they are the only municipality in Canada that is required to pay 100% of the cost of the RCMP contract. And this despite numerous outreach attempts from the provincial government, the town of Coaldale, for the federal government to fix this problem. Coaldale ratepayers have been saddled with more than $4 million in extra costs as a result. This is unacceptable and completely unfair. Albertans deserve to feel safe and protected in their communities and deserve equal treatment when it comes to police service funding. With no indication that Public Safety Canada is interested in resolving this unfair singling out of small-town Alberta, we are taking action today. Alberta's government is stepping up to provide Coaldale with $550,000 in funding to cover local policing costs that the federal government is refusing to pay. This will be an annual, predictable funding. Reliable and affordable policing services are essential for rural communities. We recognize the extent and seriousness of crime in rural communities, which is why we are committed to providing funding to Coaldale for frontline law enforcement. We won't stand idly by while rural Albertans are unfairly made to shoulder the costs of essential services that similar communities across Canada engage for far less. This is just simply not fair. The town of Coaldale says this difficult situation is the result of a vindictive federal policy that is effectively penalizing the residents for pursuing the policing solutions and decisions that they thought met the needs of their community at the time. This has other municipalities fearful of even asking or exploring other options that are on the table. But we know that sustainable, equitable funding model is needed to support public safety measures that protect all Albertans, no matter where they live. Municipalities should be able to explore policing options without putting equitable funding at risk. As I have previously stated, I believe it is also another signal check from Public Safety Canada that they may not wish to continue with contract policing services in Canada. With this supplemental funding today, we're ensuring that the town of Coaldale can continue to pay for the policing services its residents currently rely on. We support and echo Coaldale's call on the federal government to engage and arrive at a reasonable resolution for this town. Today's announcement does not mean the discussions are over. Our government will continue to press Ottawa to extend the federal policing subsidy to Coaldale and to ensure the fair treatment for all Alberta communities. So I'd like to thank you, and I would now like to invite MLA Grant Hunter to the podium to say a few remarks.
Well, thank you, Minister. And actually, I want to say truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Minister. We have been working on this issue for many years. Since I started as in my second term, this was brought up to me from the mayor at the time and the council. And it's been a long haul. We've gone through a few ministers, and it's interesting because when we went up and sat down with Minister Ellis, I know that the team had prepared, they had worked hard, they had figured out how they can present, and had gone through left no stone unturned, thinking they were going to have to go in there like they did with every other justice minister before, and make their value proposition and pitch. They went in there and they presented quite quickly what the problem was. The minister got it quickly. He, as an ex-police officer himself, got it quickly, moved to agreement, and said, "Is there anything else?" And it was finished. The meeting was finished. We walked out. And they kind of looked at me and said, "Was this how it works with all ministers?" I said, "Absolutely not. You knocked it out of the park." But we've got a great minister here that understands the value of policing, the importance of making sure that it is fair. And this is one thing that he said often. There's a quote that I like. It says, "The oldest and simplest justification for government is as protector, protecting citizens from violence." When it all started, however long ago, the people had to give up some freedom, some money, in order to be able to determine whether or not you wanted to be protected or not. And you came together as a group, and you decided that they came together as a group and decided that they were going to pay for that justification of having policing and protection. The federal government has reneged on their role and responsibility in this area. I'm disappointed in that, and have been for many years, and so has the mayor and council. Today, the equal partnering confederation has stepped up where the federal government chose not to. And I applaud the Alberta government, the minister especially, for being willing to do what was right in this situation. Obviously, if $550,000 could go to other places, there's lots and lots of protection that needs to happen in this province and other areas, but he chose to make sure that this was done right. And for that, I thank him, and I congratulate the mayor and his council for being tenacious and working hard to make sure that this is done in a fair and equitable way. With that, I'd like to be able to turn the time over to Mayor Jack Van Ryan.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Special welcome once again to Honourable Mike Ellis, Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services and Deputy Premier and MLA for Calgary West. And also Honourable Grant Hunter, Parliamentary Secretary for Agri-Food Development and my favourite MLA for Tabor-Warner. Today is a great day for the Town of Coaldale, our community, and I appreciate everyone who was able to make it out for today's announcement. I would like to take a moment to introduce members of our council with me here today. And we'll start with our Deputy Mayor, Jordan Saylor. We have Councillor Bill Chapman, Councillor Lisa Reese, Councillor Dale Pickering, and Councillor Jason Beekman. I would also like to ask and invite former members of council to come join us up here on the stage who played a very active role. So I would like to ask Mayor Kim Craig to come up, Councillor Sherry Duda, and Councillor Doreen Lloyd, and also our administration team, played a huge part in making this all happen, working alongside with the provincial government to right a wrong. So I'd also like to invite our CAO, Kaylin Hastings, and our Chief Financial Officer, Kyle Beauchamp, to come up and join us as well. Once again, to begin, I'd like to thank Minister Ellis and his team for coming down to Coaldale to hold this press conference and for making today's announcement about Coaldale's police equalization grant from the province. On behalf of Coaldale Town Council and our entire town, we thank you for taking action on this issue and standing up for Coaldale. Second, I want to make it clear that as a municipality, we've always been pleased with our local RCMP detachment and applaud the dedication and professionalism of our local RCMP officers. Today's announcement has nothing to do with the integrity and excellence of the men and women in uniform who continue to serve our community. We have Sergeant Dutch with us this morning from our detachment. Sergeant, please share my comments and message with your members. Our problem is not with our local RCMP, it's with their bosses, Public Safety Canada. When the Town of Coaldale entered into its municipal police service agreement with Public Safety Canada in 2014, we were told that Coaldale would, in short order, receive RCMP policing at the same rate as every other municipality its size across the country. Unfortunately, this never happened. In 2015, a new government came to power in Ottawa, and since then, Coaldale's been the only municipality, as the minister mentioned, under 15,000 in all of Canada that has had to pay for RCMP policing at 100% of the cost. For nearly a decade, we've tried to engage with the federal government on this issue, but those engagement efforts have either fallen on deaf ears or worse, been dismissed. Thankfully, I can say that this has not been the case with our provincial government. By working with Minister Ellis along with his team and with our administration team, we've finally been able to find a made-in-Alberta solution to an Ottawa-induced problem that will benefit our community for years to come. With this police funding equalization grant, our residents can rest assured that moving forward, Coaldale will no longer be overpaying for policing and will save millions of dollars as a result. Once again, on behalf of our entire community, I'd like to thank Minister Ellis for making the trip down to Coaldale for this important announcement, and along with our MLA grant hunter. Thank you.
This brings us to the Q&A portion of our announcement. We do have some journalists here on the floor. Just get you guys to state your name and outlet first, and you can have one question with a follow-up.
Hi, David from Lethbridge News Now. I have a question for Mayor Van Ryn. Can you explain how big of a difference that this funding will make for the town, not only in terms of being able to afford the RCMP services, but just for anything else that the town wants to do as well?
Town of Coaldale is no different than any other municipality, with the rising inflation costs and all the expenses that a municipality finds that comes to it, to our community. This funding will go a long way in getting us past the finish line when it comes to our budget deliberations. In fact, when our council set the budget for this year, we based it on receiving this grant. And without receiving that money, we would have had to come back to the council table to deliberate how we were going to either cut or raise taxes for our residents. So this is a huge win-win for our community.
And can you explain why it is that Coaldale has to pay 100% for RCMP currently, like prior to getting this grant?
When the original contract was signed, we were treated as a new entrant. So that means for a community between 5,000 and 15,000, if you're treated as a new entrant, you have to pay 100% of the policing costs. Whereas we have historically been policed by the RCMP, so we should have fairly been treated at the 70% mark.
Let me just supplement what the mayor is saying, and I know I mentioned it in my remarks, but let me be clear. So the Coaldale was in the RCMP contract. They chose to go in a different direction. They go back in, as the mayor indicated, that they would be treated as a new entry. However, again, it's not without lack of trying on both the provincial government side, the Town of Coaldale side, and in fact, even the RCMP in Alberta themselves, again, tried to essentially lobby the federal government and Public Safety Canada to have them with fair and equitable treatment like every other police or every other town that has contract policing in Canada. And in all cases, including from the RCMP's side, from the provincial government side, from the Town of Coaldale side, it's been nothing but deaf ears.
Do we have any more questions from the floor? No? I'll get the operator to put through the first caller. No, we have no one on the phone lines?
That's fine. Look, I just want to say thank you to the Town of Coaldale. I think for anybody who's watching right now, I think it's important for everybody to know how important it is for this town. I think the mayor justifiably indicated that this affects all the residents of Coaldale. They would have had to make a choice whether or not to raise taxes or cut some kind of service. And as the Premier has been very clear, as I have been very clear, we were going to do whatever it takes to keep the people of Alberta safe. And that's precisely what we are doing here today. And I want to thank everyone in the Town of Coaldale. I want to thank MLA Grant Hunter. I want to thank the Mayor, and I want to thank all of these current and former elected officials here, because without you, we wouldn't have the community that we have right now, which is in Alberta, that has the greatest quality of life and greatest standard of living of anywhere in Canada. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out. That concludes our announcement for today.
All right, we're going to do a picture, right? Yeah. All right.